Good morning, and welcome to these 2021 iESE UK Public Sector Transformation Awards. Every year we try and share not just current best practice, but the emerging best practice for local public services. And this year we've gone one step further in trying to put all of the awards online, both in interview and in video. It's the first time we've done an event like this, so please bear with us if we have technical difficulties. Just a reminder that this is a showcase event. The judging process has ended, and the awards ceremony will be on the 8th of September. We would like to thank you for coming along and supporting the event, and we'd particularly like to thank our sponsors, Barclay Group, Netcall and Assurity Systems Limited. Sadly, Barclay, who have supported us for a few years now, founded by Tony Pidgley. Tony passed away after last awards, and we'd like to dedicate this year's awards in Tony's memory. Our finalists have created a video that showcases their award-winning nomination, and each of those videos will come online as the category winners are announced. This can be watched on our YouTube channel or on our website, and there are links down below. All the videos will be pulled into a special edition of Transform magazine, which we'll be able to view on Wednesday afternoon. Don't forget to tweet hashtag iESE Awards 21 and share the success of your organisation and the fruits of your colleagues' work. So the next 2 days we're here to celebrate success and achievements of the sector. Make sure that you join in and tweet about what's going on. So we're now going to be moving to the first category, asset management and regeneration. And that category is going to be chaired by John Comber, my colleague, who's going to be with me throughout the day today. So I'm now going to hand over to John for the asset management and regeneration and switch my camera off.
Hello, good morning and welcome to this really exciting event. And I have the pleasure, as a former Chief Executive of Greenwich and long involvement with SOLAS, of introducing the first category finalists for asset management and regeneration. The local communities rely on a wide range of assets, whether publicly owned or not, and this award is for asset management and regeneration that delivers proven benefits for local public services and their communities. The finalists are Babbage and Mid Suffolk District Council for the virtual high street, East Suffolk Council for their economic regeneration team, and Gloucestershire Constabulary for their Barclay Sabrina training centres. And I would like to bring representatives from each of those organisations online now and introduce them and get them to talk about their project. So from Babbage and Mid Suffolk, we have Fiona Dummel, who is the Assistant Director for Economic Development and Regeneration, and Tabitha Runacres, the Town Centre Vision Coordinator. Good morning. For East Suffolk Council, we have Karen Staples for Economic Growth and Regeneration Manager, and Andrew Jarvis, Strategic Director. Good morning to you.
Morning.
And for Gloucester Constabulary, we have Vicky Heselton, Head of Estates and Support Services. Good morning to you.
Morning.
I'm really delighted that I've been able to announce you as finalists. And we have the next 30 minutes to learn a little more about your projects to go with the online videos and the submissions you've made. So if I start with Babbage and Mid Suffolk, if I could just get you both to do an introduction to what your submission is about and how you've involved the customer and the community, and what sort of outcomes you've got so far.
Okay, do you want me to? Tabitha and I didn't quite plan this between who was going to say what, so I'll kick off and then I'll hand over to Tabitha.
Thank you.
So our project is really something that we started to form early last year as we started to go into the heart of the pandemic, really, which was around developing a virtual platform for our local independent high street traders to be able to continue to stay open and sell and publicise their goods and services. So we decided we were going to pilot it in one of our key market towns, a very small but very attractive heritage town of Sudbury, which is in Baber, and we did a soft launch back in August, and we went sort of live, if you like, with businesses coming onto the platform in November, and it's really been a partnership approach from day one. So we worked closely with the town council, Sudbury Town Council, and a young entrepreneur, a chap called Ellis Hayes, who is a new business startup from something called Station Labs. Of the noise. So the do you want me to carry on, John?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. So we basically, we worked in partnership, the three parties, a really good private public sector partnership, and we worked very closely through the town centre manager at Sudbury Town Council with our businesses, so that we could create something that was completely bespoke. So this platform is not something we've bought off a shelf. We designed it from scratch, and we designed it specifically to accommodate our customers, which are our businesses. Tabitha, I don't know if you wanted to say a little bit more about how we're actually driving custom and our sort of customers to the retail, if you want.
Yeah, so it was first put out, obviously when it launched in the end of October, November period, we were into another lockdown. So it was key to be able to drive that traffic towards the businesses that were online. So in that first month, there was a third of businesses, 100 businesses actually joined up in Sudbury, which is a great beginning number to have. And that's been growing. And it was initially marketed out with a comm strategy, but with QR codes were actually put out in physical shops in the high street. So people that were out in Sudbury, as well as our social media. And we were really lucky to have that pushed through from the Sudbury Town Council, really supportive of our social media and comms as well. But the QR codes meant that there was a physical representation of the virtual high street in Sudbury as well. So people could see that a shop was shut, but actually they were still having a presence and still being able to sell their products online as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for bearing with the technology as you're the first on. You were the guinea pigs. Next, could I ask Karen and Andrew to give us a run through of the project and how, again, customer and community involvement was handled and some of the outcomes for the East Suffolk Council Economic Regeneration team?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, John. And so our submission is to highlight the work that the Economic Regeneration team at East Suffolk Council have been doing on combining placemaking, cultural regeneration and physical regeneration in Lowestoft, and how we're innovating through how we engage with our community and stakeholders in getting them to be involved in the work that we're doing. So really the whole project ethos is around involving customers and communities in our placemaking work and ensuring that they're embedded into our town investment plan, which is our regeneration plan for Lowestoft. And this started through us creating the Lowestoft story, where we held workshops with the private sector, the public sector and communities to understand how each stakeholder sees Lowestoft as the place and what they value in the place. So this started off by asking them to identify 3 key themes as to how they view their story. And these themes came out as being the first. So Lowestoft is the most easterly point in the UK. It's the first place that sees the sunrise in the morning. And it's aiming at being the first in innovation and economic activity and cultural regeneration. Our second theme was harnessing and celebrating the sea. The community is very connected to the sea in Lowestoft through the economic activity, through fishing, oil and gas, now and wind energy, and also leisure and tourism. And the final theme that was identified with the community was exploring the Eastgate. So then really stressing the value that they place in the natural assets that they have. So the beach, the Norfolk and Suffolk Broad and Carlton Marshes. So having started this story, we then used that story and that common agreement, if you like, about what our strengths were, whilst also accepting our challenges, to then create together our town investment plan that will set out our regeneration goals. And this process involved stakeholders and communities in identifying the priorities that we want to see in the place, and then collectively prioritising those goals and deciding exactly collaboratively what would be in the town investment plan. This was all set alongside COVID-19, so it was very innovative as to how we actually did that engagement. But the beauty of the process that we created with the place board and our ambassadors group was that it enabled us to do extensive engagement digitally, which has worked really well for us. So it's been normal for us to have 80 or so people joining a webinar event or so on, as well as being really strong in our digital presence, our social media, our website to engage people, and that's been a real success. Andy, I don't know if you want to touch on a little bit on the outcomes.
Yes, I mean, certainly, this is a whole town project, a town of 70,000 people. And I think to understand what's been achieved so far, and, it's early days, you've got to understand where sort of lower stuff comes from. I mean, it is the most easterly town, as Karen has said, some of the most deprived wards amongst the most deprived wards in the country, low social mobility, low sense of achievement. And I think those of people are perhaps their own worst critics. I mean, they're definitely in a place that says, we're not going to believe change is going to happen until we actually see it. And that's what's I think been amazing about what's happened. I mean, this connection with the sea. We've got involved with Wayne Hemingway and Hemingway Design, and he and his colleagues produced this First Light Festival on the beach. We think we were going to get 10,000 people there on the sand. We got 30,000. The vibe in the town when they realised they'd got something, was just tangible. It just changed the whole sense of things. So that was one outcome. The place board, I mean, just has been phenomenal. Getting businesses around the table, key internal stakeholders, the town council, and the county council, but also other organisations, English Heritage, Arts Council, just too many to name. Working with the community to help develop this, and then the biggie, of the moment, the Towns Fund, because we have got to deliver stuff for local people, and we need the resources and the capacity to do that. So we're really, really grateful when we were told we'd got that. So I think at the state we're at now, that those are the outcomes, but there's a lot more to come. There really is a lot more to come.
Brilliant, thank you. If I turn now to roster constabulary, and I think Martin Searle is with us.
Yes, yes.
So Martin Searle is the Police and Crime Commissioner for Gloucestershire. So we think he's logged on. But if I could ask you to do.
I'm here.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning. If I could ask you both to do a double act and just outline the project. How it's touched on customers and the community, and some of the early outcomes, and we'll then have an open discussion. And please bear with the technology. We understand completely. This is surreal at best.
Of course. I'll start first, but Vicky is the brains behind this and the person who delivered it. First of all, thank you for having us. It's great to see you. Well done to all the other people who are taking part in this. I'm actually now broadcasting from Berkeley Nuclear Power Station. It's now called the Sabrina Centre, which is I think it's the best police training centre in the whole of the country. And the reason I say that is because it is, and because I'm very proud of it and very proud of my county. First of all, Berkeley Nuclear Power Station was based on the Chernobyl-style nuclear power stations, and it closed with the loss of thousands and thousands of jobs just a few years ago. But as you know, it's got to stay here for probably a few more thousand years anyway before they can knock it down. So we didn't have a training centre in Gloucestershire Police at all. We're a small force, about 2,000 strong, with officers and staff. And we were really suffering as a result of that. And with COVID, it should be COVID, but for the mental health and well-being of officers, that was a real deficit. So I saw this advertised on the internet one day and slipped down almost undercover on my own to see what it could look like. And it is just an old nuclear power station, which was built tremendously strong. But the views over the Severn Estuary are just tremendous. And we started working with the people who owned it, Stroud Group of Schools, and nuclear decommission, and say, look, this is not expensive to buy this. And actually we can turn it into something absolutely special, because the location, the views, the well-being, the scale of it is something we can really do. Now, actually, when it comes to environmental work, there were a lot of skeptics to say, well, hang on a minute, this is a nuclear power station. Well, let me tell you, this is the one place there isn't any really activity, and we can prove it. The rest of the county, we can't do that. There were so many skeptics about the flooding. It's on the floodplain, but actually this is an area of quite low unemployment. And actually, yes, there's a 1 in 300 year event that this could flood, but it actually won't flood the whole building. So we were determined to do this. Actually, the recommendation from the experts earlier on was, don't do this. This is kind of like slightly crazy. You'll get a lot of criticism for it, but it's the only way we can do it. And this is a fantastic site. It used to have 2,000 people working here. And when we came on board, there was just like a score of people working down here. But working with the school, the people who are at nuclear decommissioning, the whole site is taken off. And it's now a green park virtually. Our next door neighbour is the Active Building Centre, a government-funded organisation, which looks at the very latest technology. And now what we're doing, and Vicky will tell you more, we are going to try to get this whole building off-grid. You can operate without any mains electricity. They'll be there for backup. We're trying hydrogen, we're trying solar, we're trying wind power, pretty much everything. And this whole centre will now be a test bed to see, can you make an old building that was going to be demolished, and environmentally that's a very dirty thing to do, a very expensive thing to do, and make it one of the best in the country. So the reason I say it's a tremendous building, I think you've seen the video, it really is. It would just sit here doing nothing. The whole park is now taken off now. Another school's moving on to the site. The Ministry of Justice, I think, are moving on to the site. We have green energy on the site now. And I think by being an anchor partner, we've really done a lot for the environment, for local employment. And it is probably gone from a nuclear site into probably one of the greenest areas you could possibly have. But Vicky will tell you about the construction, how we did it, or the refurbishment. But the difference it's made to the officers and their well-being is quite remarkable. You can't put it into words, but I will try. Officers have a very, very difficult time right now, this weekend especially. This is where they come to train hard, out of public view, to meditate a little bit. The gardens are amazing, the grounds are amazing. And that's probably been the biggest benefit, to really professionalise police training, put us on the map. And, I've had a green and pleasant county as part of my police and crime plan priority. I know I'm the only PCC who's done that. And I now lead on the environment for UK policing, for England and Wales anyway, because I think young people, and everybody on this call will agree, environmental change, climate change is a really big issue. COVID's one for people like me who are older, but for all the younger people, like the rest of the people on this call, climate change is a really big issue. And Gloucestershire Police will be at the forefront of that. We have the biggest fleet in the country. We've got all our buildings that go in carbon neutral as best we can. And I'll let you ask questions, or hand over to Vicky, who really made this happen. I had the idea, but Vicky made it happen, and the Chief Constable too.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. And as you can see, we're really enthusiastic about the new facility. And the PCC is right in terms of the services for training that we had for the last 30, 40 years really has always been substandard. And I think this really does open up, not just for the police officers, staff, volunteers, other community groups to use this facility. It gives us an opportunity to not only showcase what we can deliver, but also seek to work in partnership with other people. Now, in terms of the customer and community involvement, it is obviously about providing appropriate police training for officers, staff, and all those that contribute to the police family. But in addition to that, in terms of community involvement, what happened with regard to this project is there are so many people involved. There were so many customers. So the PCC, we needed to deliver it environmentally friendly, within budget, on time, in a very short timeline. And I can assure you, the PCC drove a really hard bargain there in terms of making sure we needed to get it done when they wanted. And obviously, in addition to that, as the others have said, in terms of COVID-19, we were delivering, a £6 million project, and just as we were about to finish in terms of practical completion, there we are. COVID-19 contractors go off and they don't know what to do. They're waiting for government direction in terms of how they can operate and so on. So it was a challenge for us. But in terms of community involvement, I think one of the things that I'd just like to flag up that we're particularly proud of in terms of apart from the facility and what it delivers, is it offered a lot of opportunity for young people. So as part of the sustainability element of this project, you know, apprenticeships, students could come on site to learn about construction, gender equality in terms of, you know, attracting women into the construction industry, and also in terms of the legacy project in this piece of work, again, massively important in terms of the community. So apart from the obvious in terms of, you know, the appropriate training facilities and the fact that it offers us a base for our supported leadership and wellbeing piece that our Chief Constable and PCC support significantly, and also in terms of the Children First programme. More than that, in addition, we had a legacy project called the Friendship Cafe. So in Gloucester City, you know, it is a deprived area. The Friendship Cafe is fundamental to engaging between communities and with the police. And what we did with our partner, Wilmot Dixon, we worked with the Friendship Cafe as part of this, as a spin-off of this piece of work. So in tandem, we had the training centre work carrying on, and then we had the Friendship Cafe work. So they are funded by charitable contributions, and they've got groups and use the facility there in terms of, you know, crafts, learning new languages, developing their English skills, women's groups, all of those things. They're all funded by charitable donations. So for us, we took on another piece of work as part of this to facilitate developing their gymnasium, their community hall, because obviously none of that had funding. So in terms of community involvement, there was obviously this piece of work in terms of training police officers and staff volunteers, but also the community element with the Friendship Cafe. And in terms of, sorry, I was just going to say in terms of aims, I think just to finish, as Martin said, in terms of, you know, the next phase is green energy initiatives, development of solar, development of the way that we manage air circulation in the building, and also, you know, modestly, but I won't be modest, is that we can't keep up with the demand. So in terms of the demand for the facilities we've got on offer, both internally and for our partners and for other businesses in the area, we can't keep up with it. So I think that is testament to what we've been able to offer there. So sorry for taking up so much time, but I think it's really important.
No, absolutely great. And thank you for all of you doing the introductions. I'm now going to go back to Fiona and Tabitha and ask specifically about trust and security. Given the content of your project, what were the issues that arose around trust and security and the development of digital skills?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier, this was very much a partnership approach. It was a partnership between ourselves at the local town council and the young entrepreneur, but also it was a partnership between our group and the businesses. And the businesses have been through, as we all know, a massively tough time over the last 12 months. And when we were launching this, they were just about to go into a second lockdown. So, you know, for the businesses to trust their local authority to say, we're going to introduce this and we'll put you on here and it really will help your business. I think that took an incredible leap of faith for many of them. It is free. It was free. It's free. It's a free service for the first 12 months. But even so, many of them, 70% of that 120 businesses that we've now got on the platform didn't have a website at all. They had nothing. So it's been a huge leap of faith for them to trust us to deliver something that's of a quality that will drive customers to their business, even though their high street shops have been closed. And I think it's been proven in the short period of time that this has been running since November, that of those 120 businesses, there have been over 5,000 unique visitors to the virtual high street platform. And a third of Sudbury businesses are now signed up to the platform. Now, a lot of that goes credit, as I said earlier, to the town centre manager, who has worked tirelessly, walking the streets, talking to those businesses. But we've got some real success stories as well. For example, we had a fruit and veg market trader who decided they wanted to join the virtual high street. And they have gone from strength to strength through this particular platform, to the point that they've now bought their own vans and are doing click and collect services just because of the virtual high street. And there are many other stories that I could tell. We wouldn't have time, but it's been that relationship that we've created between ourselves and our businesses at a time when it's been incredibly challenging for the businesses has been really, really important. And just very quickly to mention a couple of other really key things that we believe this has brought in. It's really supported our wider vision for our key market towns. It's a platform which is key to rolling out wider. It's designed to be upscaled or downscaled. And it can have additional features. We're looking at putting additional features on at the moment in terms of cultural event planning, etc. So in terms of regeneration for our market towns, it's been an absolute pivotal asset that we will continue to use and to roll out. And I'll hand over to Tabitha briefly, if that's okay, just to talk about that rollout, because it's significant. We've secured some additional funding, and we are adding to the towns over the next few months.
Yeah, so the other 4 towns, they all range in size as well, and that's one unique thing about this, because it is bespoke to us. We recognise that each of the towns are quite different, so actually we can really tailor it to their needs and their requirements. It doesn't have to be just the same thing rolled out to the rest of the towns. The pilot period in Sudbury has really shown us, has been able to show us what's needed in terms of digital skills. So we said in the video that 70% of businesses that are on that platform didn't have any type of web presence before. So to go from that to then having actually a place online selling products and getting people actually not just to engage online, but actually through the door then when they are open, that's a major step for us. And being able to take this forward with the additional funding, as Fiona said, we're putting together a digital skills for businesses package that we're putting out at the moment, which will be a whole range program in terms of improving your social media, photography, security online, everything around that. So there's a really some people we know, like the greengrocers, have quite high digital skills and are really engaged in that platform, and other people just need the extra support. I think that's really shown us through the pilot period, and that's something we're taking forward into the rest of those towns as well, so that we can build a really resilient program for them. And then when everything is reopened, this will be another marketing tool for them. It won't be seen as in competition to getting people through the door. It will actually work in partnership, and I think that's something that we've kind of proven through the last 5 months period.
That's great, thank you. Turning to East Suffolk and Karen and Andrew, some questions about how you engage with the private sector and the role that the ambassadors played.
Okay, so engaging with the private sector was one of the main objectives for our placemaking work and for the creation of the Place Board. For several years now, Lowestoft public sector stakeholders have worked very well in partnership. However, we knew we weren't getting the most out of our engagement with our private sector. The placemaking work and Place Board will significantly improve this. So we have representation of all key private sector organisations on our Place Board. So the likes of Scottish Power, ABP Ports, Marks and Spencer's, Park Holidays UK, the Chamber of Commerce, our Lowestoft Business Improvement District. And having that Place Board, particularly last year during COVID, was a really important communication avenue for us to keep speaking to our place about what is happening during, ultimately our plans are about regeneration and future, but it gives us an ability to talk in the now and how we could connect with our place during COVID. So it was a really handy tool. Our place branding has been particularly welcome with our private sector organisations. So this is where a little bit of the background we have at the moment. It's where we have a branding and imagery to help unite and create a common thread, if you like, work for the place. So we encourage our private sector to use the branding and to use a suite of photography that we have to use in their own marketing materials when they're talking or providing promotion on Lowestoft. So externally it shows we have a common theme and a common imagery and gives a common purpose, and that's been really useful for our private sector. And another success really with our private sector is that we were chosen by the charity Business in the Community as their next placemaking programme. So they have a scheme where they look to support places in England with their activities in their place. I think previously they've worked in Blackpool and also Wisbech, and Lowestoft is their next programme of place. They provide us with a business connector who connects businesses within Lowestoft to local projects within the community. This helps to ensure that our plans are inclusive and we're taking the community along with us in our plans. And they also sit on our place board and help to strengthen that link with the private sector. The Ambassadors Programme is the other part of the jigsaw, if you like, to the place board. So the Ambassador Programme consists of a database of everyone in the place who shows an interest being on this database. And we keep in contact and inform through that database. But we also have ambassador events, which are events where we have different speakers from different organisations talk about all the projects that are going on in Lowestoft. And these events have been hugely successful during COVID online. But we also have a group of 11 lead ambassadors from different sectors and different parts of our community. So we have a lead ambassador in tourism, energy, colleges and schools, mental health, faith groups, environmental organisations, young people. They help provide the content for our ambassador events, and they also help inform us what is going on in their networks, and fundamentally they help promote positive messages and transfer information into what is going on in their sector. So linking the regeneration of the town to their specific interest and their specific sector. And we've done this through a variety of media. So the film that we've sent, you'll see, is to have that imagery and branding is part of that work that we sent to you. We've done presentations, films, video, and we've just recently launched a podcast. So a key purpose of the ambassador work really is to just better communicate what is happening, to get better messages out, get feedback back in. But I think the key thing about that is it's internal messaging, internally within Lowestoft, but also externally to potential visitors and investors.
That's great, thank you. And turning back to Gloucestershire Constabulary and Martin and Vicky, almost the impossible task. How did you convince people to come into the new Learning and Development Centre, given the nuclear credentials that preceded? And what do you think the commercial opportunities are post-COVID?
Okay, first of all, you have to have the whole top team signed up. The people who've got the power, the Chief Constable, and the PCC who's got the money. And when you've got that, you're on a bit of a winner, really. The first thing is you have to roll with it a little bit, like when we rolled out all the electric cars, you had to put up with the silly jokes if you've got a long enough lead for that. You have to listen to people really carefully to say, look, it's not going to flood, we've done all the work, it's not radioactive, it's fine. So you have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to be able to take an awful lot of Mickey taking, not all police, I know, typical police cynicism and humour. I love them, but they are very, very... They're the police, aren't they? So you have to go through all that. What we had to do was I had to overrule our experts at one stage. A very good planner said, I can't recommend this as value for money, Martin. I said, well, why? So why not? He said, because if you ever tried to sell it again, it might be a problem. I said, well, I actually don't want to sell it again. It's a police training centre. We're not going to go out of business. And actually, we're there for the long term. I can see this as a 25 or 50-year project. So Vicky will bear me out. We had to have some very strong conversations with the experts to say, look, I want to rebalance the assessment to say, you know, it is all those things, the environment, which will get to score high, the sustainability will stay high, the police training will score high, and actually the resale value, I'm not particularly interested, so score it differently and give me that piece of paper it means I can spend the money. You'll know, without that piece of paper that says value for money, I'm kind of like going to get shot. So we did that, and we had to go through all that. But you don't actually win it over until the people start training here, and they wouldn't mind. There's one guy here. He's a PC, a sergeant, a trainer, and he would say I was the biggest cynic in the world. And he's completely won over by it, primarily because of the quality of the building. I don't think they believed an old building like this could look that good. And it does look good. And it was an old nuclear power station. Picking up on the views, you can't see it. I'll tell you, because they are mind-blowingly amazing. You wouldn't get consent to build here. But it's actually then you start to sell the dream with reality. The dream becomes a reality. And the involvement of the community has been so good. We have massive grounds. We have a whole road network. So the under-17s driving club come down here on a Saturday, numerous Saturdays, where they can drive under supervision and learn their driving skills. That's really important. When getting the active building centre and through them, we're meeting with the Ministry of Defence next week because they want to see how we decarbonise the building. This was fully electric. It's not got the greatest, didn't have the greatest insulation. It's very expensive to run because nuclear power has so much electric, didn't care about anything else. They could do it for nothing. So we're meeting with the Ministry of Defence. We met with the Ministry of Justice to be an exemplar of how can you decarbonise old building, and we're using that for our new patrol centre which we're building, where the plan was to actually trash the whole site, and now we've worked out we just trash a small amount of it, the bit we can't save and rebuild, and we actually decarbonise the rest of it. So that's kind of how we did it, and it's become infectious. You can see I'm very enthusiastic. I'm not always like this, but you have to say, look, we're going to do this. I don't care. So we have got the highest percentage of electric vehicles, 22% of our vehicles electric. People will take the mickey for a while. Then you get them a Tesla and put it in ludicrous mode. And I think we've also got the record of the fastest speed of a Tesla on any road in the UK when it's being tested by our driving school. What they didn't realise, everything can be seen on the computer. And we have calls from Tesla in America saying, what is going on with that Tesla? It's just gone down the M5 at 145 miles an hour. Don't worry, it's the police. And actually turned it off on the computer. They thought it'd been stolen. So it's the enthusiasm which Vicky's got in spade loads. She has to put up with my enthusiasm. She has to make it work. I'm also very tight because I would have probably done it not quite so high spec, but the chief convinced me that we should do it high spec, and some things we save on, but the quality of the coffee here, the quality of the IT, we didn't compromise on that, and we didn't compromise on the long-term sustainability of it. I take up a lot of time. Vicky may want to add.
And I'm being told that we are running out of time. So, Vicky, any quick comments?
Yeah, I think really, just to sum it up, I think it was about selling the vision, buying into the vision, and getting everybody to buy into that vision. And we did that by engagement and involvement. And there was a lot of cynicism. And I think being able to sell what this facility can offer has just turned around everyone's view with regard to this facility. And Martin's right in terms of, all of the due diligence you talked about the nuclear element. It's all about being open, transparent, sharing the information, doing the work that you need to do to make sure that you can demonstrate that we care not only about the service that we're providing, but also the well-being of our staff and placing them in an environment that people perceive as not safe. So I think selling the vision was the first step to delivering what I think is an absolutely amazing facility.
Brilliant. Can I thank all of you for bearing with the technology and presenting on your projects that are all worthy finalist submissions. I thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to hand back to Andrew now so that we can move on to the next award. I'm sorry for the limited time. I would love to have carried on because it's fascinating. But thank you very much, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So we're now moving on to the Best Transformation Team category. This award recognises the team who has made exceptional contribution and long-term positive impact in their organisation through a series of transformation and continuous improvement projects. They continuously look for ways to innovate and push the boundaries of local public service deployment. And the three award winners in this category are Broxbourne Council for the One Broxbourne team, Cumbria County Council for the digital team, and Surrey County Council's digital programme. And I'd like to welcome to join me today: Rebecca Keane, Head of Finance, and Joseph Taylor, Consulting Manager at the Broxbourne Borough Council, Craig Barker and Catherine Bryant from Cumbria County Council, and from Surrey County Council, Joanne Blount and Lorraine Juniper. Welcome all. So as with the last category, what we'll do is just have a general introduction, so you can tell the audience about your project and how you have progressed it, and then we'll come back round again with some specific questions. So if I can start first with colleagues from Broxbourne Borough Council, Rebecca and Joseph. Can you tell us a little bit about the background to your project, how customer and community were involved in that, and what the outcomes were, please?
Yeah, so the One Broxbourne team, it's a core team made up of members of the council, so service leads from across the council, people who really know their service areas, and then colleagues from Sopra Steria who brought with them a whole load of expertise about customer engagement and customer experience, how to use technology, how to leverage technology we already had, and change management as well, which is really crucial, because we can't just put new technology in place if we don't know how to support people along that journey to begin to use it and things. So as a core team, we sort of very early on decided, what is it that we're trying to get out of this? And we looked at it and realised that actually a lot of the places where maybe as a council we were failing was in that fundamental serving of our customers and how they felt when they interacted with us on, things like missed bin collections or trying to access housing support, things like that. So we really put customers at the heart of the whole thing, and that was our value from the output, was that it is about the customers. And we very quickly, over the first 15 weeks of the project, we launched a new website along with a back office system that feeds straight into the website, and a new reception area, which people could come in and they could self-serve in the reception, or they could talk to a customer services assistant, or there were meeting breakout spaces to meet planning and all of that in that one area, which was lovely and was open for about 6 months, and then it's been closed since March last year. But it'll look lovely and shiny again when we can go back. So we did that over 15 weeks, and we got 32 customer journeys on our website, and that was really the key. And there's a lot of talk at the council about customer journeys. Everything now comes back, but what's the journey? And it was looking at everything from the customer's viewpoint. How do they feel when they're interacting with us? Where are their pain points? And it was a really different way to look at stuff, because generally as a council person, you go, well, I have to do this and then I have to do that. And actually, as a customer, I don't understand why you've got to talk to that person and then to that person. And it's sort of real different way to look at it. And we realised that those points where the customers would feel pain were actually the same ones probably where we were frustrated as officers and trying to deliver. So we sort of looked at everything from that viewpoint and tried to make it as easy as we could for them. And we based it on Experian data. So we looked at our borough and the people who were there and how they interact with technology and how they use stuff. And we also, it's a very iterative process. It has been, it still is, it's still ongoing. So where we get, if we know that our customer services assistants are getting lots of complaints or lots of comments about a particular way, we'll tweak that process and we'll come back and go, actually, let's do this slightly differently because it's not working. We've still got pain points. Yep. And also, one of our very early journeys was within the housing team, and we'd sort of come up with lots of words for the website, and we'd sort of pitched at a reading age of about a 12-year-old, and we sort of pitched at that sort of age, and we tested it in with some of the housing clients as they came in, some of those customers. Obviously, we talked to them and explained what we were doing, and we realised actually it needs to go lower. There's still terminology in there that people just don't understand or couldn't grasp what it was asking them to do. So all the time, it's been about the customer and how we can tweak things to get it better. And Joe, I don't know if you want to come in with some of the sort of outcomes, some of those nice detaily things that you know about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to read off some stats that I think just tell that story really. So we've identified that there's 69% of an increase in digital take-up. We've seen 117% increase in over 65s using digital. We've seen 48% reduction in phone calls to the council and 38% of transferred calls to back office staff. So Bex always loves when I run out these stats. But I think for those, it tells a story actually of the outcome of the One Broxbourne team and what we've been able to achieve. And actually what we've been able to achieve in those outcomes have been that customers can do more for themselves at a time that's convenient for them online. They've got the information that they need to know, not just all the information that the council think they want to know. And that right first time improves that customer experience. And I think what we're noticing now, really, really accelerating, is what that means for staff. So customers doing more for themselves means that they can focus on the work that actually add value and get stuff done with less transferred calls. Again, they've got more time. And what we're really noticing, especially like COVID, is those new ways of working, the new kit, actually staff can operate just as effectively as they did before. And there's some really exciting things around staff kind of efficiencies as well into those integrations that we're working on at the minute. So yeah, I think, yes, those stats kind of tell that story, but actually it's the outcomes that were really key to kind of what the One Box One team delivered.
Some brilliant results, and as you say, perfect timing for this year when we've all been going digital. That's fantastic. Thank you, Craig and Catherine. Can I turn to you now and just ask you a little bit about your project again? How you involve customer and community in what you're doing, what the outcomes were. I believe you've done a range of things. Tell us a little bit about the background for those.
Sure. Yeah. Good morning, Andrew, and well done to our fellow finalists. So Catherine and I work within our digital and innovation team. Our application was based around the team's journey, and we have, from about 2018, really embraced a user-centered design approach. We've been concentrating with our service customers, so internal staff, but they're still customers as we see them, as well as the general public, to keep them fully engaged in our projects, running sort of open projects, working in the open, using show and tells, weekly sort of catch-ups or retrospectives to keep everybody engaged, empowered and involved in those processes. We had a fantastic year in 2019 where we transformed about 16 services, and that gave us a real momentum within the authority. So coming into 2020, we had a programme of work lined up to revolutionise our approach to user-centred fault reporting for highways and highways inquiries, along with other transformational pieces for adult social care, waste and some internal programmes as well. Then, of course, COVID kicks off and the business as usual has to continue. We've picked up a lot of pieces where, because we demonstrated that we can react very quickly, work in the open and work in a multidisciplinary way with multiple partners, that we were a really good fit for delivering some of our responses to COVID solutions, popping up a system in 5 days to support vulnerable people, and then popping up another system within 10 days of development to support our track and trace initiatives, collaborating with public health, and various other sort of COVID-related systems that came into place, highways booking systems, household waste recycling centre booking systems. And yeah, it's been busy, but our team is growing, and we've gone from potentially just one person a few years ago up to a team of about 5 that are concentrating on sort of service redesign, digital transformation. Catherine, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I suppose just stuff around that community and sort of user engagement. There has been some challenges, obviously with COVID and sort of how we might have done things previously. So that's sort of forced us, I guess, but in a really positive way, to look at different ways of engaging with people. We've been working very closely with our communications team to look at different ways to engage. So we've been doing sort of user surveys, looking at using Facebook and Instagram for getting, really sort of granular information about for the highways project, for instance, show them a picture of a big puddle on the road and ask them what sort of terminology they might use to report that, and really trying to engage with users that way in a really sort of quick, snappy way. So yeah, COVID's obviously been a challenge, but there's been some real positives out of that in terms of different ways of engaging with and also engaging with our teams on the ground level who have that sort of day-to-day impact and conversations, and making sure we engage from the earliest point. So yeah, it's been challenging but positive overall, I think.
That's some fantastic pace, absolutely fantastic pace. If I can now return to Joanne and Lorraine, if you can give us a bit of background about your work, and again how you've involved customer or community in that, and some of the outcomes that you've managed to achieve.
Of course, yeah. So my name's Jo Blount. I'm the digital program manager for Surrey, and with me is Lorraine, who I'll let her introduce herself. But really a brief overview of our programme. It sounds like we've all been on a very similar journey. So yes, as Craig said, congratulations for all getting here, and it's really exciting to be here. I guess as an overview of our digital programme, we were born out of our transformation programme in 2018 to really drive and enable the transformation of services for a number of reasons, probably like everyone, in terms of ensuring best service experience for our residents, closing budget gaps, which a number of us come under as local authorities, and also better using digital technology to deliver our outcomes. So our journey very much started, and I guess probably like everyone, as a bit of an add-on, a very much traditional IT approach where it was a function that you could turn on. And I think through our submission and our videos, I've been really clear about it has been an incredible journey. It has been, we have moved from that, let's switch on an automation, or let's try and integrate something. We really invested and explored in capabilities that would allow us to fundamentally have conversations about service transformation, and started that engagement on that. And we've moved through a journey that I think, like everyone, has been flung into a space we never expected so quickly due to COVID, to actually having conversations around digital needing to be at the heart and not something we do as like a nice, pretty add-on or on the side of our desk, to being at the heart with multidisciplinary teams wrapped around it, and insight and customer really at the heart, driving what we deliver to ensure that the uptake is really real. So that's a very brief overview of what our submission is, and really that's all around the amazing team that has evolved over time as well within that. Like I think all of you said, I think there was one person, a piece of paper and a pen, not very digital, to, you know, us all working on teams and having backlogs and agile and delivery managers and scrum masters, you know, who are probably pulling their hair out that we're not all there at the 10 o'clock stand-ups, let's be honest. So that's our journey. And in terms of our customer and community, again, it's mirrored our journey. Really early on, it was about going to customer services, getting stats, going to the web and digital team and looking for patterns and usage, going to our data team and understanding what people were saying in services, and really asking our service leads, what do you feel on the front line? What are you hearing? What are you saying? COVID was the catalyst. We had timescales like Craig mentioned, where we had to turn around things fast, and using that data was not reliable enough. So you had to ask the residents, you know, what's useful for you? And you had to ask those real frontline workers, what's useful for you? So it actually working with the communities, talking to our MPs in that area and saying what would make a difference, and asking real information. And that set, I think, probably, as everyone in this room is feeling, a precedent. It was like, wow, what we delivered, the quality was so high. We didn't put in as much, you know, not as much thought, but we didn't do all those outcomes that we thought and add everything on, because it was so tailored to them. And the data was real time. It wasn't us going, we started to create data and insight dashboards. And really that set the precedent. So the team that we might come on to talk about later around our digital design team, we created roles over the last 9 months around user research and user insight, so that is no longer a thing that we go and rely on. We have someone who is tailoring an approach to actually talk to our residents, talk to our partners, talk to our teachers, talk to our young people and say, what would you use? And then to complement that, we have a UX UI designer who's designing our prototypes and our actual deliverables with that in mind, and testing that out with those same groups of people. And really, for me, we are still very much on a journey. Digital is nowhere near complete for us. It's still a journey, and I keep calling it the COVID wave, that we're having to sort of really carefully surf and not end up on a beach somewhere crashed out. But really, it's around now bringing together for Surrey a digital operating model that will bring together all those strands of digital and drive digital change and achieve our digital strategy. I'll hand over to Lorraine to sort of just say the outcomes we achieved in that.
I'll do that quickly. I'm Lorraine Juniper, Head of Strategy and Engagement. And I suppose the key outcome was a change in mindset across the organisation. But the programme's enabled us to create capacity and capability to respond to those everyday needs of the councils through a collaborative and forward-thinking team and those capabilities. We've moved towards digitalisation of manual repetitive processes. We are joining up our data and building that single view of the truth. We have a live digital strategy that aligns to the various other strategic strategies that are in place, and that provides a stepping stone to delivering our organisational strategy. We've improved and increased access to our services for residents through chatbots, live chats and reimagined processes, and we've begun to move digital away from something, as Joe said, that we sort of used to have a bit of a conversation about, that is now actually at the heart of some of those big organisational conversations. And ultimately, we're supporting the delivery of supporting independence, tackling inequalities, investing in digital infrastructure, connecting our various communities, enabling our agile workforce, empowering staff, and using that data and insights to better improve outcomes for our residents.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll come back to Rebecca and Jason again now. Clearly, there's some common threads in all three. Customer at the centre, digital, not an add-on. But also, there's a key component in that. That's the team, the staff in the organisation as well. So, how has the work you've done translated into new ways of working and a new culture within the organisation?
Yeah, so I mean, and it's much like it is. It's fascinating listening to everybody sort of mirroring our same experiences, and stand-ups and scrum masters and things. All these words that I never knew what they meant, and sort of until 18 months or so ago. And it's part of that team and that the way in which tools like that really bring a team together and get to know people. From the very outset, we had that, like I sort of said at the beginning, that core team who worked together and were empowered. They got that from senior leadership in the council, went, this is what you're doing now, focus on this, you have time, we will sort out the stuff, your day jobs will get done, but you really can get involved. And it meant that everyone felt like they were part of that journey, nothing was being done to them. So it's just become part of how we work, and we've got sort of anecdotal stories of other teams around the council now who are using those techniques themselves, maybe not as part of the main transformation, but just for their teams to improve their efficiency and their ways of working as they sort of look to improve themselves. And I think it's a bit like Joanne said something about, is that we're a bit of a victim of our own success in some ways, because now we look at this technology and go, oh wow, we did that for that, could we not do it for this? And you sort of find yourself going off on these sort of paths of how you could continue to use it. I mean, and fundamentally, it's been about making sure that any new technology we do implement does link in with that new back office system. So we now have one back office, a bit like Lorraine said, it's that one version of the truth. This is the data, and we've only got it once. We're capturing it one time. We're not rekeying. We're not doing those. So it's where have we got integrations? Where can we stop someone clicking it out of one system to put it into another system to then print it out and give someone a piece of paper? And they're the challenges we're getting to now. And we're now moving to that transition stage. We've had an awful lot of support from SOPRA, and it's been a real team effort between the two, but we're now building our own digital team. But as everyone again has said, it's that we had one, maybe two people. We're now starting to bring in our own digital team and our own business change. And so we can do it ourselves, and it's sustaining and it's long term, because I don't think this journey is ever going to change. It's ongoing. And so I've babbled on. I don't know if Joe's got anything quickly he wants to add or.
I think it's that team around the skills, and we talk about multidisciplinary, but it's that combination of the individuals that know the customers, they know their service, and what specialists can bring, whether that's digital or looking at things differently, and then just around how we can make the change and stick. I think that's so important. Then if you've designed a solution as a team with all the right people around the table, then actually the business change and actually how we communicate that to the staff that will need to change. Actually, you're kind of halfway there because they've had a hand in actually designing it. So I think that's really key for that multidisciplinary team, and also then how we implement the change once we've designed it.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'll turn now back again to Craig and Catherine. You mentioned, I think, in your initial intro that you developed a track and trace system, I think in 10 days. Just before I move on to the main question, it'd be interesting to say within that how much that's presumably elapsed time. How much time did it take, and was there extra investment, or was it just a part of what the assets you already had? And did it cost less than 37 billion? So that'd be interesting. But then, I mean, moving at that pace, you've got to bring customers, you've got to bring council, whether they're internal or external, with you. How do you do that when you're moving that fast?
Yeah, sure. So Test and Trace was built in 10 days of elapsed time. The initial sort of scoping session maybe had 3 of our digital team involved. And then over the course of the next 10 days, everybody was so busy on various other COVID responses that we had just the one lead developer run the whole project. Development time was probably less than a full working day each day because he was dipping into supporting vulnerable people and our PPE distribution as well. Not the typical way we normally run a project, but it was a reactionary piece to get it up and running. But yeah, as you said, there wasn't any extra investment in assets or technology. We're building on top of our existing low-code platform. We use Liberty Create. And sort of true to our digital declaration obligations, after building that, we shared it with the Liberty Create community as well. So it's out there, it's available for free to use. Boris can pick it up if he wants. And it's certainly only cost office a time.
Fantastic. That's the real testament to the speed. And bringing people along with that can't have been done in a bubble, no matter how little time you had to do it. You must have brought others along with you. So how difficult was that at that speed?
I think that was one of the benefits for us about initially, sort of during all that COVID work, we had a lot of engagement because everybody sort of down tools. Everybody, we had lots of involvement from lots of different key stakeholders within and without the council, but because everybody was sort of working towards that common purpose, everybody was able to sort of leave the day job and everybody was really, really focused. So in some respects, I think for the COVID pieces, that was relatively straightforward because everyone was very focused. Where that has become more challenging subsequently is where we're working on, and everyone working on sort of more business as usual. And everybody's got their own day jobs to be going alongside that. We're trying to sort of keep people engaged by having really regular show and tells, stand-ups. We've had to be very adaptive in terms of how we approach that sometimes. So the highway service that we've been working with, particularly during the winter months, they've got a lot of other pulls on their time. So we're having to be sort of adaptive in terms of changing our approach. And we move from sort of having weekly engagement sessions to having sort of 2 shorter sessions through the week just to try and really maintain that engagement. But quite a lot of that is organic because our reputation sort of precedes us, I think, to a certain extent, and people are really keen that they can see what we deliver really quickly, and that sort of really feeds that momentum. Craig, I don't know if you've got anything to add.
Okay.
Sure. No, I think that mostly covers it. I'm going to be echoing everybody else that we are a victim of our own success, and we've gone through that transition where the resistance to change to now the service areas are knocking at our door, chomping at the bit to get involved with the team, and is now the challenge is being able to fulfil the demand for change within the organisation.
Well, you can be able to do everything in 10 days, you'd be fine. Brilliant, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing it with the sector as well. I think that's fantastic, as you say, a great practical demonstration of the digital declaration in action. Joe and Lorraine, you talked a little bit about multidisciplinary teams. Can you explore that a little bit more and talk about how they relate to services, and how do you use challenge effectively? Are you bringing service teams with you again, so that it's not just you in the bubble, as it were?
Lorraine, do you want to cover multidisciplinary and I'll cover challenges? Yeah. Oh, you're on mute. And there we go. Lorraine's won the mute bingo. Yeah.
Phrase of the year.
We'll get you your prize due on a regular basis. So yeah, the Surrey, I suppose the example I would give was our Surrey Family Health Hub team that was an initiative to provide parents and young people with easy to access and improved, more digestible information online. it worked because of the range of stakeholders that were involved, really. We had really great senior leadership from Cabinet member, a really senior director got involved and was actively involved. As we discussed on both of our submissions, the aim was to be move away from being that commission service. So it was really important that we created those multidisciplinary teams and those new roles, such as user research, UX designers, that product owner role for the service. We brought in our web and digital team, Joe mentioned that early on, as well as various children's teams across the sector, not just within the council. Yep. The user researcher allowed us to bring in parents, teachers, young people, partner voices, and they were established as part of our teams. And we came to love those show and tells and those retrospectives because it really was an engaging conversation that we had. And we talk a lot in our service about blended teams, and this is what we mean, that we're a sum of our parts more than just as individuals. So we think that just creates a greater impact and delivers better benefits. Jo's got a great analogy around challenges, so I'll hand over for her. She does a lot of the challenging.
I as the programme manager, I deal with the challenges normally, and I'm probably going to do that annoying program manager thing where everyone will side, but they are our opportunities. If I'm really honest, they are that risk thing where you go, on a personal level, on a team level, that is really grinding, and that is, sometimes demotivating. And we're all, I can say this and everyone will probably nod, like, is digital friend or foe? I'm pretty sure I turn up to most meetings and they're surprised I'm not iRobot. So it's things like, that is a true challenge, but it's an opportunity. What does our engagement plan look like? Do we have one? Have we got a comms plan? Do we have a brand? Are we getting rid and abolishing some of those ideas? But to bring the services on that, I think it's about making that saying it out loud and saying that, hey, do you see us as your friend or foe, testing that, and then asking them what would help you get over that barrier. And I think in our presentation, we talk about, a plethora of challenges that we've come up against. And as our team is not just there to, take that and really take that hard and see that as downheartening, because as a program manager, if I saw a program of this scale on transformation with any of us and I saw it was on green, I'd go, no way, because transformation is challenging, it's hard going, it's going to come up against, resistance. So it's those ambers that allow us the opportunity to really push us that bit more into transformation. And you probably know you're getting it right if you've got that. But for me, to make it real for the services, articulate it, come up with some mitigating actions to address that challenge and use it as an opportunity to overcome that, and really make sure that is what your services are seeing and ask them what would be helpful to come over that challenge.
Fantastic, thank you. And thank you all. We've run over slightly, but Chairman's prerogative, because the stories are so fantastic and it's really important that we share them fully. The videos are online. You are all very, very worthy winners. And I'll see you all, I hope, face to face in the autumn to present you with your awards. We don't yet know whether you'll be gold, silver, or bronze, but you will all be getting an award. And one last comment is that actually this year the level of the score on innovation averaged out about 80%. That's unheard of. So to actually get in the gold, silver, and bronze this year is phenomenal, and it's testimony to the hard work that you've done. So thank you very much.